Unexpected text to Mafia Boss changes her life forever. 5 incredible minutes expose hidden truth. Emma Johnson plopped down on the sagging couch, rain pounding on the roof like 1,000 tiny fists. It was just an ordinary Tuesday afternoon in Maplewood, except nothing felt ordinary anymore. Her body ached from the long shifts at the diner, and the weight of worry pressed heavily on her chest. Her 15-year-old son, Jake, sat at the kitchen table, textbook sprawled out before him and frustration etched across his face. Every boiled noodle and hasty pizza slice she served was barely enough to keep them afloat, and a recent medical bill was threatening to sink them both. Then, her phone buzzed violently on the table. Frowning, she glanced at it, surprised to see a text message from an unknown number. The name, Veto, flashed in harsh letters, sending a chill down her spine. Emma hardly knew the man, but everyone in town was familiar with his reputation. Veto was a name connected to a dangerous underworld of threats, whispers, and fear, a mafia boss in a small town that wanted to pretend everything was perfect. Before she knew it, her fingers started to move. Curiosity beckoned her, urging her to read the message. The shipment arrives at midnight. Make sure the usual is taken care of. As she read those words, her heart raced. A roller coaster of emotions crashed over her, part fear, part intrigue, with a hint of excitement. What would happen if this information got into the right hands? She glanced over at Jake, who was still battling math equations, oblivious to the storm brewing just outside their door. Her mind raced. Should she tell someone? Would that mean risking her life? The diner became a brewing pot of secrets as she stood behind the counter, pouring coffee for the locals who seemed to be unaware of the dark whispers floating in the ether of their quaint town. But didn't she owe it to Jake to look after their safety? The right choice felt more complicated than ever. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days turned into nights filled with restlessness. Emma couldn't shake the feeling of paranoia that settled into the corners of her mind. As she spoke with customers, the same murmurs surrounded the diner, gossip about strange men lurking in dark alleys, the police sniffing too closely around Veto's turf. And then, an unexpected alliance blossomed. A couple of old friends, weary of the mafia's grip on their hometown, began confiding in Emma, sharing hidden truths and tales of long-ago deaths. Each revelation danced like a blade, cutting deeper than she thought possible. Emma's heart sank deeper. Was her life entangled with Veto's in ways she never imagined? Fear clawed at her throat, mingling with the dread of having to make an impossible decision. Should she act or stay quiet? A chilling realization dawned. How could she break the cycle of silence without risking everything? As the rain continued to pound outside, and an uneasy silence crept into their small home, Emma faced a crossroads that could lead to justice or destruction. With her son unknowingly standing in the eye of a brewing storm, Emma clutched her phone tight. She had a message to reply to, one that could alter the fate of not just her family but the entire community. The stakes were higher than ever, and a choice loomed ever closer. Would she step into the darkness to find the truth? The answer and the safety of everyone she loved hung dangerously in the balance. Emma sat in the dim light of her living room, the weight of her choices pressing down like the rain outside. She felt the phone vibrate again, and every buzz sent her heart racing. What if Veto was waiting for her reply? Each message felt like a thread pulling her deeper into a dark web she didn't want to be part of. It was just a text, but it had the potential to unravel everything she held dear. Taking a deep breath, Emma's fingers hovered over the screen. She could ignore it, just let it slip into the abyss of unanswered messages. But what if by ignoring it, she was sealing her and Jake's fate? Taking one last glance at her son, the math assignment still weighing heavy on his brow, she swallowed her fear and began typing. I got your message. She hesitated, biting her lip. What do you want me to do? The seconds dragged on as she stared at the screen, fearing every beep that could come next. Would he expose her? Would he drag Jake into something ominous? Her fingers twitched, ready to turn off her phone and shut the world out, but then another message appeared. Good. Stay ready. Midnight. Emma's stomach turned as she thought of staying ready. She didn't know who she was becoming, but the thought of crossing paths with the Mafia boss chilled her spine. Could she really take action without losing everything? There was so much at stake that as night crept in and shadows hugged the edges of her home, her mind raced through memories of happier times. Family dinners, laughter ringing out, and the promise of a better life. It all felt distant now. She wanted to fight for that life, the one she and Jake deserved, but stepping into this darkness felt wrong. Her heart raced as she considered the other older patrons at the diner, the servers, the familiar faces who served coffee and pies yet carried their own burdens too. Some had been trapped under the weight of fear for years, never speaking out against the threats hanging over their heads. What if she could be the one to change that? Empower herself? Empower them. Emma stood up, her decision solidifying like steel in her gut. No more fear. She would not let Veto dictate her life. She would gather the courage to confront the lurking storm. With resolve, she grabbed the old green notebook off the shelf, its pages crumpled and faded, and began jotting down her plans. Before I can help, I need to know. This affirmation steadied her breath. It was time to reach out to her allies, those friends who had whispered truth around the diner. If she had support, maybe they could expose Veto's grip on Maplewood. Together the uncertainty might just be heavy enough to break the chains of silence. Just as she finished her thoughts, Jake entered the living room, his face scrunching in confusion. Mom. What are you doing up so late? Emma's heart softened. Just thinking, honey, she said, forcing a smile. Everything's going to be okay. But inside, doubt crept back. Could she really change anything? Before she could spiral back into worry, her phone buzzed once more, but this time from a different contact. A number she recognized but hadn't spoken to in years. It was her old friend, Carlos, one of the few brave enough to stand against Veto. The message read, I know what's going on. Meet me at the diner in 15. We need to talk. It was the moment she'd been waiting for, but did she dare answer the call of destiny? As Emma turned to face her son, she knew she was stepping into the unknown. This could either shatter her world or set her free. And in that brief moment, she understood sometimes taking a stand meant risking everything. Would she have the strength to face Veto head-on? Would the truth bring liberation or destruction? As the clock ticked mercilessly, time ran out on indecision. Emma took one last look at Jake, his innocent eyes locked onto her, and felt a surge of determination flood her veins. She couldn't let him down. She wouldn't allow the shadows encroaching on their lives to suffocate them any longer. Mom, are you okay? Jake asked, concern knitting his brow. Yeah, sweetheart. Just, catching up on some things, Emma replied softly, ruffling his hair. You should head back to bed now. I'll be right down. With a nod, Jake wandered off to his room, leaving Emma alone in the stillness. The hum of the refrigerator seemed deafening in the silence, a reminder of the ticking clock. Forcing herself to focus, she grabbed her coat and slipped her phone into her pocket. Each step toward the front door echoed in her mind like a drum. Was she really about to face Carlos? Was she still ready to confront the danger looming over them? As she stepped outside, the cold air wrapped around her like a shroud. The streets were empty and damp, glistening under the street lamps. She hurried to the diner, her heart pounding louder than her footsteps. The diner stood like a beacon in the darkness, its neon sign flickering against the night sky. Familiar faces often filled those booths, laughter mixing with the scent of fresh coffee, but that warmth felt light years away now. Pushing open the door, the bell rang with a comforting chime. The diner was quieter than usual at this hour. The clatter of dishes and the distant hum of the coffee machine filled the air, but it felt more like a sanctuary than the hotbed of gossip and suspicion it had been for Emma in the past. She quickly spotted Carlos sitting in a corner booth, his expression serious as he glanced up at her arrival. "Carlos," Emma greeted, sliding into the seat across from him. "It's been a long time." "Too long for both of us," he said, his tone heavy. "But we don't have time to reminisce. What is going on?" "I got wind of Veto breathing down your neck." Emma took a deep breath, the enormity of their situation crashing down around her. "He sent me a message. He wants something, and I'm scared of what he'll do if I don't comply." Carlos' jaw tightened. "We have to stand together. Vito's grip on this town runs deep, but we can't let fear keep us quiet." "What do you mean?" she asked, confusion knitting her brow. "I've been talking to some of the others. You're not alone in this. Many feel the same as you do. If we can all gather, unite our voices, maybe we can push back." A flicker of hope ignited inside her. "You really think we can expose him?" "I believe we can," he affirmed, leaning forward. "But it'll take courage. We have to gather evidence, talk to others. We can't let his intimidation silence us." "But what if it backfires? What if he retaliates?" Emma's voice quivered, uncertainty creeping back. "Every moment you spend in fear is one moment you're giving Veto power over you. It's time to take it back." Emma felt the weight of his words settle in, solidifying her resolve. Standing up to Veto meant risking everything. But staying silent felt like living in shackles. The bell above the door jangled, drawing their attention. Emma's heart dropped as she saw a familiar figure step inside. It was Vito's right-hand man, Lorenzo. She recognized that look of menace that tightened the air around him. "Oh no," Carlos muttered under his breath. "Stay calm," Emma whispered, perspiration pooling at the base of her neck. Lorenzo scanned the room, his gaze lingering, and Emma realized this was a test. It was either fight or flight. She locked eyes with Carlos, knowing their time was running out. Would they act on their fear, or press forward into the dark? As Lorenzo approached, the silence in the diner grew thick. Emma could feel every heartbeat pounding in her chest. "Ladies and gentlemen," Lorenzo called out, his voice dripping with intimidation. "I hope you're all enjoying your late-night meals." Emma felt the walls closing in. This was it. The moment of truth was looming closer than ever. Would they stand up or be crushed under the weight of silence? But before Emma could react, her phone buzzed again. Bringing her back to the reality of their predicament, could the next message be the breaking point? Emma barely had time to process the tension thickening the diner before her phone buzzed again. With shaky hands, she fished it out of her pocket. The screen lit up, illuminating her worried face. An unknown number flashed before her, and her heart raced at the possibilities. What if it was Veto? Or worse, what if it was someone sending a clear message not to cross him? She felt Carlos slide closer, his eyes darting between her and Lorenzo, who was nearing their booth with slow, deliberate strides. The air grew heavy with apprehension. Emma opened the message with trembling fingers. Her breath caught in her throat as she read the words on the screen, chills rippling through her. It wasn't Veto, it was a warning. "Stop what you're doing. They are watching you. Trust no one." Her heart dropped further. Who could send this? Was it an ally or an enemy trying to manipulate her? Emma could feel the weight of the unknown pressing down on her, and she fought to keep her expression neutral. She needed to compose herself. "Is everything okay?" Carlos whispered, his concern evident. Emma forced a nod, bringing the phone close to her chest. She couldn't let Lorenzo see her panic. "I'll explain later. Just keep calm." Lorenzo stood now, mere feet away, a smirk decorating his face as he surveyed the diner's patrons. "I hope everyone's feeling safe and sound tonight," he boomed, his eyes slick with menace. "Because it would be such a shame if anyone found themselves out of place." A chill ran down Emma's spine as his gaze locked onto hers. She felt exposed, as if every thought, every piece of her plan was laid bare before him. The diner was oddly quiet, even the clinking of forks seemed ominously silent as everyone leaned in closer, straining to hear his next words. "You forgot your place, Emma. You're not in control here." His voice dripped with an oily confidence, and it sent shivers through her. "We're not afraid of you," Carlos interjected, standing his ground, his voice firm despite the tremor in his hands. For a tense moment, Lorenzo merely laughed, a dark rolling sound that bounced off the diner walls. Fear is a funny thing. It can twist the bravest of souls. Emma felt panic creeping back in. The warning from the text loomed over her, a shadow she couldn't shake. She glanced to Carlos, who was staring down Lorenzo, a fierce light shining in his eyes. The diner door swung open again, pulling attention away from the table. Emma's heart skipped as a new figure entered, a woman with a determined stride and eyes that burned with knowledge. She was familiar. Emma recognized her from the neighborhood meetings, a member of the community who often spoke out against Veto's control. "Back off, Lorenzo," the woman commanded, her voice clear and authoritative. "We have a right to speak." Lorenzo's gaze flickered, caught off guard for a split second, but then a more sinister smile twisted his lips. "Ah, who do we have here? Misplaced bravery?" Emma felt a sense of urgency swell within her. Maybe this was the spark they needed. With the woman's arrival, hope threaded through the air like a faint light in an oppressive darkness. "Emma," Carlos said, his voice urgent, pulling her focus back. "This is our moment. We need to draw the line." But Emma hesitated, still feeling the weight of uncertainty crushing her. The text message echoed in her mind. "Trust no one." The diner was a cacophony of rising tension, with people uncertain on whether to take sides. Emma's heart raced, weighing her options. Would she seize this moment to fight back, or would the stakes push her into silence yet again? Lorenzo edged closer, his face almost menacing now. "What's it going to be, Emma?" Emma took a deep breath, her mind racing with possibilities. She could feel the burden of staring down fear and opportunity all at once, and just when she was about to respond, her phone buzzed again. Another message that could change everything. Was this a final warning or a lifeline in a moment of chaos? Emma's heart raced as she glanced at the screen. It was the same unknown number. The words felt like icy needles prickling her skin. "Be careful. Lorenzo isn't alone. They're everywhere." The urgency of the message made her pulse quicken. She felt Carlos's hand on her arm, grounding her, pulling her back into the reality of the diner. Lorenzo's challenging gaze was unyielding, his expression teetering on the edge of amusement and danger. Emma took a steadying breath, wondering if the woman who had come to their side might hold the key to their escape. "Who are you?" she called, her voice firmer than she felt. The woman stepped forward, taking charge of the moment. "I'm Mia," she said, casting a steely gaze at Lorenzo. "And I'm not afraid of you." Lorenzo chuckled, the sound wrapping around the diner like a snare. "Is that so? Courage, my dear, is often the precursor to foolishness." Emma felt the weight of the words on her back. "We've had enough," she said, tapping into a well of anger she didn't know she had. "This isn't just about you anymore. It's about all of us." Murmurs erupted around the diner, whispers of agreement intertwined with notes of fear. The air crackled with a mix of hope and tension. Emma could almost taste the shift in the room, a palpable change that began to embolden others. "You're trying to gather the weak, Emma," Lorenzo spat, his voice growing dangerously low. "What do you think you can accomplish without consequences?" "Maybe it's time we find out," Mia said, stepping beside Emma, their defiance growing stronger. Emma felt something different stirring in her heart. Was it courage? Was it hope? Whatever it was, it flourished under the uncertainty of the moment. Lorenzo stared at them, his sneer slowly fading into something that resembled concern. "You don't know what you're getting into," he warned. You've no idea what forces you're provoking. Perhaps, Emma said, her voice unwavering. But we're tired of living in fear. The weight of that statement landed heavily in the air, everyone around them listening intently, as if holding their breath. Carlos nodded, exuding strength that seemed to bolster Emma's resolve. You won't silence us anymore, Lorenzo. This ends tonight. Just then, the diner door swung open again, and the sudden gust of wind sent a shiver through Emma's body. Another figure appeared, this time a man she recognized from a previous meeting, the former journalist who had uncovered stories of the Mafia's grip on their community. His presence sparked a glimmer of hope in Emma's chest. What is going on? He shouted, taking in the crowd, sensing the tension. The moment seemed to hang, frozen in time. Mia gestured for the man to come closer, and he obliged, moving toward the group. We're standing up to him, she said, and her words seemed to rally the crowd like a war drum. We deserve to be heard. Emma felt empowerment washing over her, but a sudden fear gripped her heart tightly. Lorenzo hadn't backed down, not yet. His face twisted in frustration as he struggled to control the situation. You're making a mistake, he warned, his eyes narrowing. You won't walk away from this unscathed. This isn't just your game anymore, Lorenzo, Emma said, rising in defiance. She felt the stirrings of every person in that diner behind her, their shared courage lifting her resolve to an unexpected height, but just as she prepared to make her next move, her phone buzzed once more. A final message that could redefine everything hung in the air between hope and trepidation. What is that? Carlos asked, concern flickering across his face. Emma glanced at the screen, her heart pounding. The words seemed to wrap around her throat, blocking her ability to speak. It's from Veto. In the brief moment of silence, she realized the implications, the weight of danger creeping back. What did he want now? And more importantly, how would it affect the fragile unity they had just begun to forge? Emma's breath hitched in her throat as she read the message. Vito's words loomed over her like an ominous cloud. The din of the diner faded, replaced by the dull throb of her heartbeat. She glanced at Carlos and the others, uncertainty flickered in their eyes. They needed answers, and fast. Read it. Mia urged, her voice sharp, cutting through the weight of hesitation. Emma struggled to find her voice. He wants to meet. The words felt heavy and alien. Tonight. At the old warehouse on Maple. He says it's urgent. Lorenzo smirked, an unsettling glint in his eye. You see. You're already playing into his hands. He leaned back, crossing his arms as if watching a puppet show. Shut up. Someone shouted from the back, igniting a ripple of murmurs through the crowd. Emma felt the energy surge, a collective heartbeat daring to challenge the monster that loomed over them. What do we do? Carlos asked, eyes dark with concern. The idea of confronting Veto sent an edge of dread through Emma, but it was clear they were at a crossroads. We can't just turn our backs, Mia said, her fierce determination igniting something within Emma. This is our chance to turn the tide. But what if it's a trap? Emma countered, her mind racing with visions of potential danger. That's a risk we have to take, Mia replied, stepping closer. Either that, or we sit here and wait for them to come for us. We need to find out what Veto knows. Maybe he can help us escape this nightmare. Emma looked around. The faces surrounding her were a mosaic of fear and determination. These were her people, friends, neighbors. She couldn't let fear paralyze them now. All right, Emma said, her voice steadier than she felt. We go to the warehouse. But we go prepared. A murmur of agreement rippled through the room. Carlos stepped forward, resolve hardening his features. We'll need a distraction. Something to keep Lorenzo off our trail while we figure this out. Lorenzo snorted but kept silent, perhaps sensing that the tide was beginning to shift against him. Emma, Mia said, I can go with you. Together, we'll face him. He won't expect it. As Emma prepared to respond, a shiver snaked down her spine. The air seemed to change, thickening with tension. What if Veto had entirely different plans? Let us not be reckless, Carlos advised. We're not just walking into a conversation. Veto is dangerous, and he won't show mercy. The worst risk, Emma countered, is to run away without knowing what he wants. We face down Lorenzo. We can face Veto too. A quiet determination settled over the group. They weren't just fearful survivors anymore. There was a flame ignited now, one that pushed them toward confrontation. As Emma glanced again at her phone, the message from Veto seemed to pulse with a life of its own. All right, let us move quickly, Emma said. We meet in the parking lot behind the diner in 10 minutes. We stick together, no matter what. Murmurs of agreement filled the room, pulling them back into unity. Just as Emma turned to grab her things, Lorenzo's voice cut through the air like a blade. You think you can handle them both? You don't have any idea what you're opening yourself up to. Maybe we'll find out, Emma shot back, her heart racing with both fear and defiance. But deep down, she wondered if they could truly take on both Lorenzo's wrath and whatever explosive agenda Veto had mapped out for them. As excitement mixed with uncertainty, Emma stepped outside toward the parking lot, hoping the night would answer the questions tearing at her heart. Would they be met with help from Veto, or had they just walked into a dangerous game they weren't ready to play? The weight of looming danger hung in the balance, daring them to take the next step. The parking lot was dim, shadows cloaking the faces of those gathering. Emma stood at the edge, heart pounding, drawing strength from the presence of her friends. The night was thick with tension, and every sound a car passing, the rustle of leaves felt amplified, setting her nerves on edge. Mia squeezed her arm, grounding her. You ready? There was a spark of determination in her eyes, and it lit a flame in Emma's gut. She nodded, but words felt too heavy to voice. As the clock ticked closer to their meeting time, the group assembled. Carlos was the first to break the silence. Okay, here's the plan, he said, voice low but firm. Mia and Emma will approach the warehouse together. The rest of us will create a distraction at the front entrance. Lorenzo doesn't know what's coming. He won't see us coming either, Emma added, feeling a swell of adrenaline mixed with fear. Carlos glanced at Lorenzo, watching from a distance like a hawk, arms crossed, smirk firmly planted on his face. No getting caught. We split up right after we go in. Stick to the shadows. The group nodded, and Emma could feel determination wrapping around them, battling the fear that threatened to swallow. They had each other, and that counted for something. Just as they made their way toward the warehouse, Emma felt a sudden chill. It wasn't just the cool breeze cutting through the lot, it was an instinctual warning. Keep your eyes open, she whispered to Mia, who nodded, eyes locked on the warehouse looming ahead. They crept closer, the building an ancient sentinel with weathered bricks and broken windows, a place where whispered secrets lingered in the shadows. Inside, the light flickered. Was it the failing electricity or something more sinister? As they entered, Emma felt the weight of anticipation suffocate her. There, near the center, stood Veto, a figure outlined by the dim glow of a single hanging bulb. His presence felt heavy, like a storm waiting to unleash. Welcome, ladies, he said, his voice smooth yet dripping with tension. I see you've come to bargain. Emma's heart raced as she stepped forward, trying to shield her unease with bravado. We're here for answers, she declared, trying to keep her voice steady. Answers. Veto leaned closer, a glint in his eye. Are you sure you're ready for them? Knowledge can be a burden. I can take it, Emma replied, her defiance rising. But even as she spoke, doubt twisted in her stomach. The weight of his words pressed down, making her question everything she thought she knew. Mia shifted next to her, both of them on high alert, scanning the room for threats. What did you want to say? Mia pressed, her voice steady yet fierce. Veto chuckled, a low rumble that echoed in the empty space. You think you can play this game without consequences? I have information that will change everything for you. Then he paused, studying their faces, a wicked smile creeping across his lips. But you'll have to decide if you want to hear it. The price is high. And I warn you, some truths are harder to bear than others. Emma's heart stumbled. What did he mean? The tension in the air thickened, like a rubber band pulled too tight. Before she could think of a response, a loud crash echoed from the entrance. Carlos, Emma turned, panic racing through her veins. They had to get out, but what about the truth? They needed to know what Veto had to say. Listen to me. You must decide now, Veto called as the shadows began to stir. Emma could hear footsteps approaching fast. With a last glance at Veto, uncertainty pricked at Emma's mind. What truth was he about to reveal? And were they ready to face it? As the chaos erupted behind them and Vito's voice faded into the turmoil, Emma held on to the thought, could they truly handle what lay ahead? The noise from the entrance roared like a wave crashing into the shore. Emma's heart raced as she turned back to Veto, desperation flickering in her eyes. Could she trust him? He watched her intently, a glimmer of amusement dancing on his lips as he reveled in the unfolding chaos. Emma! Mia shouted, her voice snapping Emma back to the moment. We can't stay here. We need to go. Panic fought her curiosity. The sound of breaking glass echoed as someone pushed through the door, followed by the sharp shouts of their friends. Vibrating with urgency, Emma felt a fierce pull, a primal instinct responding to danger. Don't you want the truth? Vito's words were a thinly veiled taunt, a challenge wrapped in a query. Because once you hear it, there's no turning back. Emma hesitated, the battle in her mind raging. On one hand, there was safety in retreat, in the familiar. On the other hand, the hunger for knowledge, what truth lay buried beneath Vito's sly demeanor. Mia! Emma shouted, her voice rising above the sudden uprising. We need to hear him out. Just for a moment. What? Are you out of your mind? Mia shot back, glancing nervously at the door. He could be playing you. We don't have time for this. Maybe he has answers about Lorenzo. About why this is happening, Emma insisted, locking eyes with Veto. What's the price? Veto straightened, his demeanor shifting as he threw a glance over his shoulder toward the entrance. Knowledge comes with its risks. You won't just learn something about him, you'll learn about yourself, too. The shadows shifted closer, and Emma felt warmth return to her heartbeat, igniting determination once more. Tell us. We need to know, she urged. Very well, Veto said, his tone darker now, like smoke curling through the air. The truth is. Lorenzo isn't who you think he is. He's a puppet, and his strings are controlled by someone far more dangerous. Mia's eyes widened as the implications hung thick in the air. Who? Veto leaned forward, intensifying the tension. Your lives have been entwined with betrayal. The deeper you dig, the more it unravels. You're all part of something greater, a web spun long before you ever arrived at this moment. The crash of the door jolted Emma, propelling her forward. Why are we involved? She pressed. That's the question, isn't it? Veto replied, smirking. Because your past connects you to my present and to Lorenzo's future. You must decide if you're ready to plunge into the depths of it. Emma's heart throbbed, uncertainty twisting in her gut. What did the past hold for her? The shadows became more alive, and she could hear her friends shouting outside, urgency building around them. Suddenly, the warehouse grew colder, tension thickening like fog. Was it too late to back away? With a deep breath, Emma turned back toward Mia, who was glancing nervously at the door. We can't just leave. What if there's more to this? What if it changes everything? Mia's expression faltered as she fought to weigh their options. Behind them, the chaos crescendoed, footsteps echoed louder, threatening to burst into the room at any second. Then Veto chimed in, his voice almost sing-song. You have 5 minutes. Choose wisely, and your answers come with the price of sacrifice. Emma felt the ground shift under her as the clock began to tick. Could they ever truly handle what lay ahead? Or would the truth demand more than they were ready to give? With urgency pulsing in her veins, she faced the future filled with questions, driven by fear but fueled by a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, they could break free from the tangled web that had ensnared them. What would they uncover in those final moments? As the door rattled ominously, Emma swallowed hard, prepared to confront whatever came next. Time was running out, and so was their chance to make the decision that could change everything. What lay beyond the next heartbeat? Time slipped away like sand through fingers as Emma's mind spiraled, each tick a reminder of the urgency surrounding them. She could feel the weight of her decision pressing down on her. What if he's right? She wondered, glancing at Mia, whose face betrayed her worry. 5 minutes. Vito's voice wrapped around them like a seductive whisper. In that time, you'll decide how deep this rabbit hole goes. Emma took a deep breath and faced Mia. Listen, we need to try. We deserve answers. Lorenzo, he's more than just a name to us now, she explained, desperation lacing her words. Mia shivered. And what if those answers shatter everything we know? I mean, do you really think we can handle that? Emma felt her pulse quicken. We can't run forever. If there's any chance of saving Lorenzo, we need to find out who's pulling the strings. Mia hesitated but then took a step back, eyes darting to the door. You're right. But if we're doing this, we do it together. Together, Emma echoed, her own fear melting slightly under her friend's support. But could they truly handle what Veto was offering? All right, Veto. Emma turned to him, resolve sharpening her voice. What do we need to do? With a darkening smile, Veto leaned in closer, lowering his voice as if sharing the most sacred secrets. In order to gain the truth you seek, you must confront your own fears. It's not just about Lorenzo, it's about why your lives have intertwined in the first place. You need to uncover your own pasts. Fear lanced through her, icy and sharp. You mean we have to dig into our own lives? Into things we buried? Exactly, Veto replied, his eyes glinting like knives. The truth often lies in the past, dear Emma. Are you prepared to face what you've hidden? Emma felt the chill in the air seep deeper into her bones. The whispers of secrets long silenced rang in the back of her mind, memories she tried to forget. What if we find something we can't handle? Mia's voice trembled as she clenched her fists. Fear is your greatest prison, Veto said, his gaze unyielding. You can either remain trapped in the shadows of ignorance or break free into the light of understanding. As a loud crash echoed through the warehouse, one of their friends shouted for them, a reminder of the chaos creeping nearer. Would they risk everything for a chance at understanding? It's like he's saying, we have to open the door to our pasts. Emma looked at Mia, searching for confirmation. But what if the price is too high? Yes, that's true, Mia whispered, but we can't turn back now. We have to trust each other. Emma nodded, feeling an unexpected surge of strength from Mia's words. Okay. Let us do this. Veto stepped back, crossing his arms with a satisfied grin. Then let the clock start. Each of you will face a fragment of your past. Only once you confront it, can you find a clue to Lorenzo's strings. The warehouse darkened further, and Emma felt the cold seep into her skin. Shapes began to emerge from the shadows, memories twisting and turning like ghosts reaching for her. Which memory would she face first? What lay hidden in the depths of her own heart? She took a tremulous step forward, while Mia and Veto held their breaths. Would they find the answers they craved, or were they about to unleash secrets too terrible to bear? The shadows thickened, swirling around her. With every step, the past beckoned, a haunting melody luring her in. What awaited her on the other side? Only time would tell. The 5 minutes ticking away, shadows poised to reveal ultimate truth or heartbreaking betrayal. Emma's heart thudded loudly in her chest as the shadows swirled around her, memories clawing at the recesses of her mind, a desperate plea from all she had buried. Each tick of the clock echoed like a battle drum, amplifying the urgency of the moment as she faced this challenge with a mix of fear and resolve. She glanced at Mia, whose eyes shimmered with determination and uncertainty, and she knew they had to press forward. "Are you ready?" Emma whispered, feeling the weight of the moment, a quivering softness hiding beneath her toughened resolve. "I'm ready," Mia said, her voice steadying. "Let us uncover the truth, no matter the cost." As they stood before Veto, the tension stretched tight, fraying nerves and igniting adrenaline. "Let the past reveal itself," Veto intoned, stepping aside to allow the shadows to dance forward, illuminating fragments of their lives lost in the darkness. Suddenly, the air shimmered like a playground of ghosts, intertwining memories flickering to life around them. It was overwhelming, a mashup of laughter, heartbreak, and struggle curled through the air like a smoke ring. Shadows of their childhood resurfaced, raw and unfiltered. Emma spotted a household dispute, a reflection of herself as a little girl, her mother's tears glistening in the light of the sun spilling through the window. "I tried to protect her," Emma whispered, shame wrapping around her like a heavy cloak. The image of her mother trembling with fear solidified her conviction, an echo of the reality she had wanted to escape but couldn't outrun. Mia, too, was caught. An image of her father flashed, anger etched deep into his features, shadows of disappointment darkening the walls around her. "I believed he would change," Mia gasped, pressing her hands to her ears, as if blocking out the past's cruel laughter. "You can't outrun it, Mia. You have to face it," Emma shouted, her own pain merging with the weight of her friends. For both of them, this was the moment to confront the very fears that had kept them quiet for far too long. "Mia." Vito's voice sliced through, dragging her back. "What you fear is the key. The truth you bury infects your choices. What lies beneath must be faced." Gathering her breath, Mia stepped forward into the swirl of dark and light. "I have a voice, and I will be heard," she cried out, the shadows condensing, flames of courage igniting inside. In that moment, the burdens lifted, and each fragment of their past felt more like a stepping stone rather than shackles. Emma stood steadfast next to her, the fire in her heart blazing brighter. "And I'm done feeling powerless." The words boiled up, igniting a fierce resolve. "We have to break this cycle." Just then, Emma's past unfurled before her, a whisper in the fabric of her memories. Faced with confronting her own regrets, she fought through the veil of fear, weaving past hurt into an unbreakable present. "I forgive you, Mom, for making mistakes. I forgive me for thinking I could protect everyone but myself." Tears streamed down her face, cleansing and cathartic. Veto watched, amusement turning to intrigue as they confronted the deepest doubts tangled within. "The truth will transform you," he murmured. "Let it transform us." Mia echoed, newfound grit giving her strength. The shadows around them morphed, transmuted, becoming a bright light that dripped with knowledge and tethered their spirits. The overwhelming sense of unity surged between them, pulling their communities and friends into the bright glow that encapsulated their anguish. The fears that once separated them melted like ice in the spring sun. They were no longer alone, they stood together, hand in hand against the tide of darkness. That a resounding crack shattered the air as the door burst open, dust and darkness swirling like a tempest. Carlos and the others surged forth, adrenaline coursing in their veins, urgency in their expressions. "What is happening?" he yelled, eyes wide as he took in the spectacle of shadows confronted. "No more silence," Emma declared, turning to face the gathered friends, courage driving her next words. "We have the power to reclaim our lives." Unity bolstered her voice, melding desperation and resolve into an anthem of strength. "Together, let us break this cycle," Mia yelled, her voice lifting like a candle in the dark. The resonating affirmations from the friends surged forth, a gust of shared energy igniting the room. As Emma's eyes darted back to Veto, she knew the moment had shifted irrevocably. "Your game ends tonight. We are more than the shadows you've cast over our lives." The finality of her conviction silenced the room, a subtle tremor of fear rippling through Veto's facade. Perhaps, just perhaps, you're something more than mere players in this game, he replied, a hint of admiration lacing his voice. But remember this, the truth can bite back. Mixed emotions danced around Emma: fear, hope, strength, but ultimately a determination to claim their fate. They were awakening from the numbing fog woven by Veto's treachery, ready to reclaim their destiny. The uncertain road ahead merged past lessons and promises of brighter tomorrows as they faced Veto with their backs to the darkness behind them. There would be more battles to fight and truths to uncover, but they were no longer alone in the shadows, and as the embers of hope glowed bright, Emma felt freedom swell inside her chest, a wild, uncontainable strength that reminded her together, they would reshape this narrative. There was no turning back that instant. She knew it wasn't just about overcoming fear, it was about forging a new path, a legacy of resilience that would span generations. They had transformed, from victims of darkness to architects of their own future. Let us show them what we're made of, Emma encouraged. And together they surged forward, united under the weight of their newfound truth, embracing both the light and darkness. The world around them stayed still, suspended between possibility and the promise of rebirth. Time, once a looming specter, had become their ally, opening up endless avenues for revolution, their voices now a harmony resonating with undeniable force. As they stepped into the future, not just as survivors, but as warriors for change, a chorus of strength echoed loudly. No one could silence them anymore. Emma locked eyes with her friends, the newfound fire in their hearts illuminating the way forward, blazing a trail bright enough for all to follow. They had ignited a spark, a light that would guide Maplewood out of the shadows for good. This was only the beginning, so, what is stopping you from joining us on this journey? Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories unfolding. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help others discover this powerful transformation. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. We want to hear from you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this awakening. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. True fans understand the importance of uplifting each other through these actions.